Welcome to the Prevail Over Cancer Podcast, where we take a metabolic approach to help guide you on preventing, prevailing, and striving over cancer.
We are live on the Prevail Over Cancer Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeff Lopes. Already got the waves going with Keith Bishop, my co-partner here. How are you, buddy?
Wonderful. And you?
I'm doing amazing. This week's topic is something we've actually dove into little segments in more than one podcast, because it's something that I've always had questions on. It's something that Ashley, with your guidance, I'm actually taking on a regular basis now before I go to bed. It's melatonin. And it's something that when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was introduced to a gentleman who has become a very, very close friend of mine. He's gone through a very similar journey like mine. It's almost like our worlds are parallel. Age, background, where we grew up, our culture, everything. And we somewhat, in our stage of our lives with two kids, ended up both with colorectal cancer and colon cancer. And through the process, we became friends. But this is something when he was working, and I think he still is, with a naturopath, and they had put him on melatonin. And when I first heard him say that, I was like, I've taken melatonin in the past, but that's something your body naturally produces. So that was the first reaction to my mind. Like, should you be on this on a regular basis? If your body doesn't need it, your body's sleeping fine or falling asleep fine on its own, why would you take it? So that questioned me, and I kind of pushed away from it. And then I slowly started introducing it when I feel like I needed just to get a better night's sleep. Just better night's sleep, in turn, your body's healing better. You're going to fight off opportunities for cells to go rogue. So I saw the benefit in that aspect. And then as we started talking, you started introducing the whole aspect of it being some way of immune booster, somewhere of just building up your system. So let's dive into it, because it's such a supplement that's very low cost. You don't have to take a lot of it. You're only taking it usually, I know you've taken it during the day, but most people take it before they go to bed. So you're going to get a more restful sleep, get a better, more deep sleep. Let's dive right into it. What are the benefits, and why is it so beneficial for cancer survival, and also just to, in general, to ward off and kind of be cancer free, right? So explain this to me.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So melatonin it is available as a supplement, but it actually is a hormone. And that means our body makes this chemical. Like you mentioned about the dark, at nighttime, our body makes this chemical. Actually, the chemical is made from from serotonin, the antidepressant chemical. So our body takes vitamins and minerals and proteins to make serotonin, the antidepressant, and then our body does a little bit more of a change and creates melatonin from the serotonin. So that's why they have similar type names. They're similar chemicals. The melatonin is made typically higher amounts when it's dark, and with our life and these lights that we have, during the daytime, but lights at night, and then the computer screens and the TVs, especially the LED type items, lights and light bulbs and TVs and computers and screens and phones, decreases the amount of that melatonin our body makes. So in a truly natural state, we don't have these lights. Yeah. We don't have the phones and things like that. And our body, would be making a lot more melatonin for many more hours a day. You just think of, in the wintertime, it gets dark at 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Our body's, making way over 12 hours of melatonin during that sleep time period. Our body makes it through the day too, so it's not just a nighttime type item. But with artificial lighting, we don't make as much of it, and so therefore we're going to miss out on some of the benefits of the anti-cancer, anti-tumor type things. In fact, there are many studies, which is kind of like I'm a nerd about that. I love reading these studies and learning and combining that, put it in like a blog post. But about the anti-cancer benefits of it, it does enhance the immune system.
Yeah.
And as part of the thing, we think of stress, as weakening the immune system, increasing risk of cancer. We've had podcasts about that. But part of that is, we may not be sleeping good. We may not be making the melatonin because we're not sleeping. And so
explain that. When you're saying not sleeping, you're not deferring to not sleeping, but not getting into a proper deep sleep. Am I correct with that? Or amount? Okay, so it's amount wise.
It's kind of a time. I think it's a part of it is a time type thing.
Okay.
And so, once again, we really should be, when it's 5 or 6 o'clock, it's time to wind down.
Yeah, but you have to talk about reality. You have to talk to reality of most people with kids and stuff. That isn't happening, right?
That's right. Therefore, we may have to supplement to obtain those benefits, of that. And so, because our body was made to do it a certain way, we're not doing that. And so, therefore, we may have to supplement with that. So it does help the immune system to work better. It's very interesting. I didn't really know this until I wrote my blog about it, but it does enhance chemotherapy and radiation treatments, and which is kind of unusual, but there are a few supplements like that, and this is one of those. In most cases, they have studies showing better outcomes, better outcomes and fewer side effects from chemotherapy and radiation treatments. And then there's even human studies showing that people survive longer, that are taking it. That if they have cancer, they're taking the melatonin. Statistically, they have a tendency to live longer.
Let's talk about that. Let's go to one stage at a time here. So we're talking about treatments, radiation, chemo, possibly other treatments. But when would you do? And I don't know if you have the understanding of that. But when would you take that? Would you take it before? Would you take it after? Would you just keep it on your normal routine in the evening? Would it be something you like him saying? Would you increase the dose during those treatments? Like, what would be your mindset with that?
I would increase the dose. So, for example, I am just taking it at night as a prevention, thing. And so, I take a pretty significant dose at night. I've experimented with a daytime dose just to see if it would make a difference. I can take a daytime dose and I don't feel it.
Yeah.
And I've also done testing with other people, my clients, and measured melatonin levels throughout the day.
Yeah.
There are tests available for that. And I've seen people with actually very high melatonin level, and they're doing perfectly fine. In fact, it's kind of surprising when I first started doing those tests, but now I just expect that and it's okay, because let's put it this way. It may not be the chemical that makes us go to sleep. And so it is a chemical we make at night. And it may not be the thing that makes us close our eyes and go to sleep. So it is just part of that process.
Okay.
So the darkness helps us to make that chemical, the melatonin, and it's just part of that process at night. But once again, I have clients that are making high doses of it during the daytime. I don't fully understand that. I'm not the expert in that. I'm just going to say, I'm going to show the information about the effects about cancer. And so, and back to your question, it's easy for me to get all wound up about it. But, during chemotherapy and radiation, during major challenges, I typically with my clients recommend going more like twice a day on it, and doing it in the morning and in the evening, and to try to get a better throughout the day type of a process. But, for some people, they may feel a little bit more drowsy. They may have a little bit more of a difficult time waking up. I do find, instead of me just sleeping 6 hours, when I take a high dose of it at night before bedtime, I sleep more like 7 to 8 hours. So it definitely does help me to get a better sleep overall and more hours.
I would say with myself, it all depends on the dose, and I've kind of figured out, like, I only take 10 mil. If I'm kind of a little wound up, I'll actually increase it a bit, just to get myself almost like as a calmer, just to get myself settled down with a dandelion tea at night. I'll increase that with my and like I said, with my tea and my magnesium, I'll increase that as well. And I think they're a great combination. So, but what I realize is if I do take a high dose, I wake up groggy. I wake up overly tired. I feel like I almost feel like because my time doesn't change. Well, I'll wake up a certain time because I have my morning routine. I'm in my sauna by 6. So no matter what, I'll still be up at 6. But when I wake up and I've taken, for example, if I've taken 30 or 40 milligrams, I'll wake up groggy, and it'll take me an extra 30, 40, 50 minutes to really get my body flowing again into like a morning state. So everybody's different. So I think it's one thing we have to understand is you're going to have to test it on yourself and see how your body reacts to it. Like you said, Keith could take it during the day and absolutely no effect. So everybody's different. So you just have to test it on yourself and see how your body reacts to it. What would you recommend? Like I start off with just one. That's when I started off with 5 mgs, and then work your way up. What is your recommendation to start off at?
Exactly. Start off with like the 5, or 10 milligrams, and then taking it earlier in the evening if need be.
Yeah.
To allow it to kind of wear off. It actually does have kind of a short half-life, we call it in the medical world, in the body. So it doesn't stay in the body a real long time. But once again, it's going to change your sleep pattern, and therefore, and matter of fact, I've had many people and associates, coworkers of mine that also felt that way, even just taking like 6 milligrams, where they've had a hard time waking up.
Yeah.
Although that person I'm thinking of, she was also taking a timed release version of it. So it was a tablet that had some on the outside of the pill, and then the tablet slowly dissolved and released more of it later. And she could not wake up and get to work on time because of that. And so, so low and slow. Low dose can gradually increase the dose.
Magnesium is a huge part of my supplements, and I take it at nighttime. And I obviously something even now as a professional, I recommend it to other people. Do you agree with taking them at the same time with the magnesium in the evening?
Sure, I do that. Yeah, I take the magnesium and ashwagandha. I know I talked about it. I can't know if we did the podcast or not. But I take another.
No, we didn't. No. It's something we're going to talk about. That's something that I took for a while. I stopped, and I'm going to start incorporating. So I think it's going to be a good podcast for us to talk about in the future as well.
Yeah, magnesium, melatonin, ashwagandha for me is a combination. So I can take those, and I can take those, and just within 30 minutes I am out.
Yeah,
and then actually falling asleep before it's really time. And then my wife will say, okay, time to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so, wake me up and walk and then lay down. And once again, in 30 seconds or a minute, I'm out again.
Yeah.
And so it's part of my nightly routine.
Let's talk about the cancer benefits. And you dove into it a bit about obviously your immune system and all that stuff like that, because anything that's going to build your immune system is going to help your cell structure and help you fight off any type of body breaking down and your cells going rogue. So let's just talk about the benefits of cancer and how it is so beneficial as a supplement that a lot of people are not talking about.
Yes, so far they believe the main activity of it is an antioxidant type activity. So it's actually a hormone our body makes that may help out with sleep, but then also it's an antioxidant that seems to repair mitochondria in the DNA.
So you're almost looking like a vitamin D in a way.
Exactly. And matter of fact, we may actually need more than what we thought, kind of like the vitamin D.
Yeah.
When I was in school back in the 70s, in pharmacy school, they said, if you take more than 400 units of vitamin D, you're going to die.
Yeah, I remember that as a kid growing up. That was a big thing. Yeah.
But now we know we need like 10 times that amount.
Yeah.
Probably as a supplement to get our blood level up to a certain level. Well, melatonin is going to be the same way. I think we're learning that we probably need more of that. And some people make more. Some people are going to be more sensitive. I know I have some clients that don't have to take vitamin D because their blood level is already high.
Yeah.
And we don't understand why. My mother and mother-in-law were two of those people. They did not have to take vitamin D. My wife and I do. So, everybody's different and you have to evaluate that. The same thing with melatonin. I think we're going to learn that we probably need more of it for more of a long-term health type of thing.
Yeah.
So, but the main thing is actually repair of cells. And so there are a few concerns when I say antioxidant during chemotherapy and radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the medical world, the thought is that radiation chemotherapy damages the cell and that antioxidants will repair those cancer cells. But it's not that simple. And there are studies that question that overall concept. And then even there's several other antioxidant herbs, polyphenols. We've talked about many of those. Our sponsor makes some of those type things. And so, but there are studies showing that these antioxidant type products actually enhance and protect the other cells, normal cells, and keep them from being damaged.
Yeah.
So that may be part of this cancer survival in people that take melatonin. They have a tendency to live longer. If they're going through those treatments and have the cancer, they live longer. And it's probably because it is repairing the normal cells. So they're going to be more normal and not decay, break down, and become dysfunctional.
And obviously, the healthier your cells, the more your body is getting rid of all the junk on a regular basis, right? That's what an ultimate body is, constantly cleaning itself, and that's what you want your body to be doing.
That mitochondria is what makes energy in our body.
Yeah.
And so when we repair the DNA in the mitochondria in those cells, those mitochondria are in almost every single cell in our body. I think the only cell that does not have mitochondria is a red blood cell. And so all other cells have mitochondria. Yeah. And some of them have a lot more, especially muscles.
Of course.
Or physically active, they have a lot more mitochondria to make a lot more energy. The heart and the brain have a lot of that. So, and that's where the brain seems to be a major impact on that. So there's the amount of number of cancers is amazing that they've actually seen benefit of melatonin in reducing cancer risks, and or in laboratory studies, where they add melatonin to the cell studies of brain cancer, they get better results, in treatments, and they expose those cells to cancer, to chemotherapy, radiation. So it's amazing. So far, I have not found a single study saying that melatonin doesn't help.
Interesting.
So
I mean, you've heard, if you've heard like for years and years, vitamin D, you've heard, magnesium's had a lot of studies. You've heard your vitamin C, your basic stuff. Melatonin is something that, like I said, I only heard really people taking it for cancer about 1.5 to 2 years ago. And then I kind of brushed it away because I take 27 other supplements. And then you kind of introduced it again to me a few months back. And now it's been a steady part of my evening routine now. So let's talk about one last thing. And I think we started diving into it as the beginning. Most people, we would recommend you start off 5 mgs, then you work your way to 10 and see how your body reacts to it. How, if you wake up groggy and all that stuff, where's the goal if your body could absorb it properly and you're doing really well and you test and your levels are great, what's your ultimate supplement wise volume? How much mgs would you recommend to most people on a regular basis? And then I want to talk about having breaks in between it. We'll talk about that after, but what is the doses you recommend?
So for people with a cancer challenge, I go.
So when you say cancer challenge, you're talking about active cancer.
Correct, active cancer. We will go higher doses, and once again, start low, go slow. Meaning, start off with 5-10 and gradually increase that dose. But in often in cancer, we're actually looking at more like at least probably 50, 60 milligrams a day.
Wow.
And that could be divided dose, maybe a little bit less in the morning and more at night. That's a normal cycle or sleep cycle. We have a little bit in the daytime, more at night. And, there's a some doctors that are kind of like experts in this, that I read and I follow, and they're actually saying that maybe we ought to be going with more like milligrams in years. So like I'm 67 years old, then I should be taking more like 60 milligrams a day, of
Interesting.
melatonin to try to repair my body. So matter of fact, think about children. Think about how long a child sleeps.
Yeah.
Many hours. Okay. And matter of fact, when I've done quite a bit of studies or lab tests on melatonin levels, and actually I noticed that melatonin levels are definitely higher in children.
Yeah,
even in the
sense.
daytime.
Makes sense.
They make a lot more. So that's why doctors are starting to go with this higher dose. And I have experimented with that. And so currently I'm taking 40 milligrams as a prevention type thing. I'm taking 40 milligrams at night. I can take 60 milligrams at night. I really can't tell the difference. I wake up the same, at 7-8 hours. Today it was at 8 hours. I just woke up perfectly fine. I took 40 milligrams last night. Everybody is different. So, but we'll go with, up to like about 60 milligrams. There are doses, and actually I have several clients that they're practitioners, they're working with a doctor, and they're actually going with up to 300 milligrams at night.
Wow. Okay. And for our listeners, don't do this. I just want to say this for our listeners. Don't be doing these crazy doses unless you are being supervised by somebody like Keith or your physician or your MD or whatever. Just make sure if you are doing this on your own as a precautionary or preventative action, start off slow, see how your body reacts to it. Don't go crazy. And if you're doing it in a cancer battle, speak to a professional, check your blood. Just find the right level that's right for you, because that, to me, 300 sounds crazy. Like I wouldn't probably wake up for 3 days.
Well, but you might actually be perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, this one client of mine, she's doing, I think, 300 milligrams. She actually has she buys it in bulk powder and measures that out. And she's perfectly fine. She's a dentist and she's doing fine taking that.
Yeah.
And not making her sleepy. She's able to wake up in the morning, go to work.
And has she seen the benefit from it?
We are seeing some good results. And other things. So,
awesome.
And I don't rely on one thing. It's a combination.
It's a synergy. 100%.
Everything together. So this is not a cure. It is a combination of things. And so, but now I will recommend, and I've seen a lot of people do very well that have a hard time going to sleep. So when a client comes to me and they say, Keith, I'm having sleep problems. Okay, well, are you having problems staying asleep or going to sleep? So going to sleep, I just can't turn my mind off. Well, then we'll actually go with the sublingual. That means a pill that you dissolve under the tongue. And that's only like, maybe it depends on the person. Anything from 1 to 3 milligrams under the tongue to get that fast absorption to help them to go to sleep. But once again, it has a short shelf life, or half-life rather, in the body, and it's gone within a couple of hours. But it's enough to help them to go to sleep. And then same kind of thing. I've had that same person even where they take a 10 milligram underneath the tongue and they go to sleep, but then they wake up a few hours later. And so everybody's different, and it's going to be an experiment to see how a person does.
And I think it has a lot to do with also your stress level, your anxiety levels, anything you're going through and all that stuff like that as well, right? So quickly, let's just go through one last aspect. And we talk about this with certain supplements, is your body becoming immune to it, being accustomed to it, because it's something your natural body should be producing if you're healthy. Would you, and all supplements, I'll cycle them off and on just to keep your body getting the best benefit from it so it doesn't become immune to it. Would you cycle this on and off? Would it be something you're on for a long period of time? Like, give me an understanding of the cycling period for something that your body naturally produces, like melatonin.
Sure. And matter of fact, in the health world, medical world, we were told that you should, that actually you can create kind of like an addiction to it, meaning if you don't take it, you're not going to make it. So in other, if you go with this higher dose, and your body's going to quit making it for
Could
a
that be
while.
okay? I was gonna say, could that be placebo, or is it more?
I don't know. I questioned that
Okay.
earlier theory. Okay. And so I experiment with myself,
Yeah.
and I'll take it most days of the week. And then as a part of an experiment, I won't take it. I still go to sleep. I still sleep, and I'm doing perfectly fine without it.
Yeah.
And so it's another area that we don't know for sure. But definitely if you want to go without it, definitely it's okay, to take a break for a day or two and see if you can tell the difference or not. Might be a placebo effect. It might be a little different. Yes. But I definitely have taken strips, and I didn't take those pills with me. I go with a smaller version of pills, and I don't have any problems.
But what I meant by this is not even the sleeping patterns or the way your body sleeps. I mean the actual benefit of it.
Oh yes, okay.
And it's also so like I said, if your body, I guess it is both ways, because if your body's naturally producing it and you're giving it a certain amount, your body might shut down the natural production of it, and then you're kind of off balance, right? So that is my biggest fear with something like that, is your body starts slowly shutting down, and then it might take a while to rebuild it up, right?
Yeah, that is a theory behind that. So vitamin D, another hormone,
yes,
same thing. So if we take it, our body won't make as much of it from the sun. As a matter of fact, part of the tanning process, our skin getting darker, is part of that process to protect us from excess vitamin D.
Yeah.
Try to shut that down to keep us from becoming toxic. So yes, it is a possibility that our body might not make as much of it. Not taking it may interrupt sleep patterns. And then as far as a resistance type issue, like it seems to help out, with cancer, it seems to be most of the effect is more like repair of cells.
Yeah.
And so, not taking it for a while doesn't seem to create a cancer problem necessarily.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And so, yes. And so but actually, there's not many studies, going into, taking it and not taking it, what happens, in that time period.
Okay.
So we do need more information. And there is a lot of research going on in this area. So, I would love to see that somebody studied that, spend the millions of dollars to do that kind of a study. I think it'd be great, but we really don't know any issues about that, about stopping it and what kind of impact that's going to have on our health, except that, this is an antioxidant that repairs everything in our body. Matter of fact, even the retina, the focusing part of our eyeball, is actually part of our brain.
Yes.
And so there's studies showing that taking higher doses improves retina function and health, and reduces the risk of macular degeneration, the breakdown of the retina. And so, and as you get older, that is, exactly.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense with a higher dose as we get older, right?
I have a family history of that.
Yeah.
And of a senior, older person getting macular degeneration. My eye exams, I have them check that every year. There's no sign of it. But okay, well, I'll go ahead and take it. It's not very expensive. I'll go ahead and take that. But even I stumbled across one other thing just by accident. It's part of a cancer study, but also they found that taking melatonin helped out with gastroesophageal reflux disease. What is that?
Yeah.
And so, but it helps cells to function better. So the esophagus is supposed to close off and keep stomach contents from coming up.
Yeah.
So,
which is essentially heartburn for most people.
Exactly. Heartburn, indigestion, things like that. So actually, there's a study showing that taking melatonin reduces that heartburn.
Which is crazy.
It's not an instant type thing. Yeah. So, but it is more of a long-term repair.
Which is also, that active over time could turn into cancer too. So there's
exactly.
There's a lot of benefits there. Let's wrap this up in a way where I just want people to understand too, and this is something you just said, something I say all the time. Melatonin, great to add into your routine. Don't think a lot of what I'm finding is a lot of people are trying to capitalize financially with the rise in cancer, and all of a sudden you'll see a TikTok or an Instagram video, and they're like, take this supplement and this, and people think, if I just take ivermectin, if I just take melatonin, if I just take vitamin D, I'm going to be cancer free. It's not like that. It doesn't work like that. It's a whole holistic approach. It's the exercise, it's the saunas, it's the walks, it's the overall diet, it's the rest. It's a whole combination. Melatonin has to be something you plug in as a preventative action and as a fighting action as part of your overall protocol. And if you do that properly, it's going to just help increase the opportunity for that cancer not to come back, to beat that cancer, or to prevent that cancer. So understand that it's just a plug-in for everything else you're doing in your journey of life, kind of thing.
That's right. And also, kind of a closing thought is that there is a quality issue on supplements with this.
Yeah.
Because it actually is a hormone that our body makes. And so they make it synthetically to be bioidentical, exact copy of what's in our body. And I've had many clients over the years. They will buy a product that we had at our compounding pharmacy, a commercial product that we bought, and they loved it. And then they ran out, or they wanted to save a little bit of money. And so they go to a discount chain store, and they took it, and it did not help them sleep.
Yeah.
And they could tell the difference. And then they came back and got ours, and it worked. And actually, it became, at the pharmacy I worked at, it was like one of our better selling items because it worked.
Yeah.
Where they would go to the discount store, and that one didn't. So there's a manufacturing issue. So anytime, even vitamin D, I've seen the same type of thing.
Yeah.
Quality is an issue. Vitamin D is very sensitive to heat and storage issues. And there's actually been several studies showing about the quality and even manufacturing, making a product can destroy the vitamin D in the product.
Yeah.
So there are some quality issues on some of these supplements like that.
And it's perfect timing because we just aligned ourselves with a company that, they stand behind that. That's their go-to is Ultra Botanica's understanding of how your body absorbs the supplements. So they're trying to get the best benefit out of you. So perfect timing for that. And like all weeks, this has been amazing. Tons of information for such a simple supplement that a lot of people are not really utilizing. So hopefully after this podcast, they'll utilize it a lot more. Like all weeks, amazing, buddy.
Great. Thank you. Yes, it's been a great time sharing.
Thank you, brother.